wanted to read to you today a Sunday school lesson called Watching Our Consumption, and it's from Daniel 1:8-10. It says, "But Daniel proposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested the prince of eunuchs that he may not defile himself. Now God had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of eunuchs. And the prince of eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who hath appointed your meat and your drink. For why should he see your faces worse likening than the children which are of your sort? Then shall ye make me endanger my head to the king." So basically the eunuch was fearful because Daniel refused to eat the food and the drink of the Babylonians, and the king during that time was King Nebuchadnezzar. And so one thing that I wanted to point out right away that I noticed was the eunuch. So there's also a eunuch in the story of Esther, and the eunuch serves as sort of an advisory to the foreigner. How Esther, she was a foreigner, and but Daniel is not not eating the food or drinking the drink of the king. And so it said Daniel and his companions were forcibly removed from their families and brought to the court of the king. The intention behind bringing them to the palace was to reprogram, so to speak. At the palace of King Nebuchadnezzar, they are trained to serve in the royal court, a process meant to thoroughly assimilate them into the culture of their conquerors. To begin this process, the prince of eunuchs gives Daniel and his friends new names. Daniel's refusal of the food prescribed him to an attempt to push back against the conqueror and hold on to his identity as a servant of God. It is not clear, however, what it is about the king's royal food that may defile Daniel. The law of Moses forbids eating certain kinds of meat, but other kinds are perfectly acceptable. Wine is not forbidden, though it is spoken of in a negative terms when excess is involved. And then it goes, Daniel's decision is less about maintaining ritual purity through diet and more about maintaining a sense of identity by refusing to be completely assimilated into the empire that conquered his people. So I do like some things that this points out. One of the questions is clear to me. It says that, they're saying that they're not clear what it is about the king's royal food that may defile Daniel. So it wasn't just the food, but how the food was prepared. And so that could be, a possible reason, even if it was meat that they could eat. They, typically eat the type of meat, but if it's not prepared in the correct way, then they cannot eat that. But I do like how it gives, how in their perception, Daniel's decision is less about maintaining ritual purity through diet and more about maintaining a sense of identity by refusing to be completely assimilated into the empire that conquered his people. So it was about the spirit in which Daniel was fasting. And I think that is a good perception, because Jesus said it's not about the food that you're eating that defiles you. It's the spirit in which you're eating that defiles you. And so this is kind of like the refusal to eat and the fasting, which people are familiar with the Daniel fast. It's a fasting of the spirit and maintaining his identity. I would say his identity in Christ, because Christ is Yahweh. The Bible clearly says that. And I also like the part, their perception of the king trying to reprogram Daniel. Like, even the changing of the name, a person's name is attached to their identity, a strong attachment to their identity. And sometimes people change their names because they're not happy with their identity. But if you see your name in the name of Christ, then you have the strongest identity, because his name is the name above all names. So I liked that as well. And what I also liked was it's talking about assimilating them into the culture of their conquerors, but we could also see that about not conforming into the world. So in a way, the world, a lot of the corruption and stuff that happens, these worldly ways, people become, or children of God can become assimilated into them if they're not strong in their identity of Christ. And their identity of Christ is an inner structure of your inner man. And if you build up your inner man, then the things that are happening in your environment or the people that are coming around you are not going to affect you as much, because your inner man is strong, your inner identity, yourself, all these like parts of the structures of what builds your identity is strong in Christ, and you're rooted deep down in Christ, sort of like a tree in the wind that's blowing, and it doesn't blow over even when the wind is blowing harder and harder. Or you can think of it like the story of the big bad wolf, and the wolf is blowing, I'll blow your house down or whatever, but the house of brick doesn't blow down because it's sturdy, it's steady, it's got a strong structure, and you can even relate it back to the cornerstone. So when they're building a structure, they start with the cornerstone and start from there. So you start from Jesus and build from there. And so I like that, because there are times in your life where you will find yourself around people that don't have the same values as you, who don't have the same morals, who don't have the same ethics, who don't have the same deep rooting and foundation in Christ. And that is a testing. But if you fast from those worldly things, the things that are not good for you, not good for your spirit, not good for your soul, then the stronger you will be in Christ, and the more endurance and strength it will build with you in Christ. So I believe that's an important lesson to remember and always keep in your heart, and remember that no matter what type of pressure there is in the crowd, that you do not have to conform.